When it comes to teaching goal setting, I really do my best to impress upon people the importance of understanding mindset. All right, whether you believe that you can or whether you believe that you cannot, you've already made up your mind. So when it comes to setting goals, there's no point in setting goals that you fundamentally don't believe that you can fulfill or don't believe that you're capable of executing or delivering upon. Right, so that's a pretty pivotal starting point for any goal setting training, this or any other. I want to propose that we're all driven by something. Right? We have these things within us called human values. Values are these things that we prioritize and really need in our lives. There's a big difference, isn't there, between the things that we want and the things that we need. For example, I could say to you right now, what do you want more of in your life? And you might say, I want a more stable, secure job. I want a secondary income stream. I want a nice house on the hill with a boat and a moat. And I want to be happily married with 2.4 children. I want to be a successful businessman or a successful businesswoman. I want to launch a social enterprise. I want to go to the moon. All these things are fine, all right, in relation to the things that we want more of and the things that we want to do with our lives. But if I was to then ask you the question, what do you need? What do you actually need today? How then would you respond to that question? Because responding to the things that we want in life, I want everything, all right? I want to be an international best-selling author with 50 books in the shelves in the bookstores. I want to have a documentary series on Netflix. I want to have my name and lights in Broadway and all that sort of thing. But the question is, do I need these things to happen? And the answer is no. I do not need these things to happen whatsoever. The problem that many people have when it comes to goal setting is that they set goals that they perceive are going to enable them to experience a greater degree of life quality today than what they already have. And this can be a little bit detrimental to our own mental well-being, if you think. It's kind of like people go through life, looking for the greener grass on the other side of the fence. Some people might even say things like, when I get there, my life will be better when. If I can just get there, my life will be better when. And one thing I can guarantee you, over the last 15 years, I've been working very, very hard. I've set and accomplished many phenomenal goals. But there is no greener grass on the other side of the fence. And we think that we're working towards getting there. But when there eventually comes, we just have our sights cast on somewhere else, which is just there, which means we're always chasing this carrot. So it's imperative that if we are going to set goals, that we set goals that align with a vision that we have for our futures, a mission that we really are passionate about embarking upon, something that just makes our life make sense, because it's these things and these things alone that give our lives a general sense of purpose. So let us respond to the question, what is it that actually drives us? I was asked this question maybe 12 to 13 years ago. I was training in the applied psychologies back then. I was studying social sciences, and I had a really challenging lecturer one day. I would have back then said, yes, I'm a highly motivated person because I was very high energy and all that sort of thing. And this lecturer said, wow, Kane, you're a very, very driven individual. And I said, yes, I'm driven. I have all these goals. There's all these things that I want to accomplish in my life. I'm going to build this business. I'm going to be the next top entrepreneur in Scotland. And, I'm going to launch all these social enterprises and transform society. And then I'm going to get married and have 2.4 children and blah, 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 blah. And the lecturer just kind of stood there nodding. Then the second I kind of shut my mouth for long enough for this person to respond and said, yeah, so you are very driven. I hear all your goals and they're fantastic goals, but I wonder deep down inside, what is it that actually really drives you? And talk about, getting that blow to the stomach or the blow to the abdomen or whatever. I was, oh my goodness, I've got no idea. Because when we talk about what actually drives us, we're talking about what's actually motivating us. And again, this is the reason why so many self-help gurus and motivational seminars are so popular. Because people have lots of goals that they're not even remotely inspired by, which is senseless. I mean, if you've only got one life and you want to live a relatively effective life, and you want to be interesting in the eyes of the people who you keep company with, i.e. husband, wife, spouse, friends, family members, then you want to have some interesting stories to tell. And if you do not find the goals that you're pursuing interesting, or you're committed to a career path that you're not even passionate about, or building some sort of business just to make money that you're, again, not even interested in, then what's the point? We can sometimes sell our souls, can't we, for those digits on screens, for a few pounds or dollars in the bank. So all that I can really do here is share with you what I've come to understand serves me on a motivational level, right? Autonomy. What gets me out of bed in the morning? The reason why I can stand before you today is because I understand if I create products like this, essentially just teaching people how to do what I've already done. I'm not teaching theory here or abstract concepts, right? I have set many goals over the years. Some I have failed miserably at, which is kind of where my qualifications come from, and others I've succeeded epically at. All right, and then there's everything in between. But fundamentally, at the core, what drives me is autonomy. I want to be completely in control of what I do and when I do it. Right? Having spent so many years, I spent a decade in the military, and the decade after I left the military, I went from kind of job to job. I worked in finance, in sales, in marketing, and just being told what to do by another human being just grinded on me. I'm being completely honest with you. It just grinded on me. Being told what time I needed to be at work, having my income, my earnings capped by how much my boss was willing to pay me, was one of the key sources of frustration. Going back 10, 15 years ago, I would have said I was motivated by, happiness. I was motivated by fulfillment, but I actually wasn't. I was actually just motivated by not being frustrated and not being disenfranchised anymore, which is very, very different, right? So autonomy, right? I'm going to offer you this. Give it some thought. Reflect upon it. Just reflect upon what your life might look like if you were to be in complete control of what you do and when you do it. Because when we start to ask ourselves these questions, naturally compelling goals and objectives will just literally come to us through ideas, through concepts. Mastery. I always aspired to be the top of my game. All right? It didn't matter when I was in the military, whether I was in sales, working in marketing, business development. Right? Any career path that I turned my hand towards, I would just give it my all, and I would always come out on top. If I was the top performing salesman, the top performing creative, the top converting, business advisor, financial advisor, whatever, it didn't make any difference. I think I was the youngest Lance Corporal in the British Army when I first got promoted, right? And all I'm saying is, this has always been a goal for me, to be the best at what I do in whatever area I do it. And this is where many people get stuck in life. Some people will end up spending years climbing a particular mountain only to get to the top and realise, I've climbed the wrong one. I've had so many conversations over the years. I also kind of serve I used to serve as a coach, by the way. That was kind of like one of my businesses. And I used to have conversations with people who would fundamentally operate in the boardroom, directors, CEOs, and they've given 20, 25 years to a certain career path, to a certain company, and they've reached the top, and they've made hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars, and they get hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars bonuses every year, and then they get all the sorts of benefits that come with that. But then they wake up one morning in their mid-30s, 40s, early 40s, and they realise, I've gone and sold my soul. Yeah, I've done phenomenally well. I've mastered my professional career, but this has come at the cost of the relationship I have with my wife. I don't even have a meaningful relationship. I've become estranged from my kids. I don't have any social circles, no real friends outside of work. Yeah, I was going for this mastery, but now I've got it. It's not really what I wanted. And what you'll find is that unless mastery aligns with autonomy, i.e. you doing what you want when you want to do it, and it's also going to be something that you're actually passionate about, then mastery kind of becomes completely irrelevant. Come on, there's a lot of courses out there. Self-mastery, master yourself. Some people think that self-mastery is about kind of self-regulating, managing their emotions. It's not. Self-mastery involves so many things. Yes, it involves self-regulation. Yes, it involves mastering our mind. Yes, also involves us committing to this process of ongoing personal development and professional advancement. So upskilling, constantly learning new things, which might be one of the reasons why you're here right now. So mastery is part of the process, but it's just part of the process. It's not the destination. So mastery is about improving our skills and ourselves. So when we show up out there, personally or professionally, we are offering maximum value, as much value as what we possibly can. Now, it doesn't matter whether we're doing this professionally or personally, in your professional circles or your personal ones. If you turn up in your personal relationships offering maximum value because you understand yourself, you know what drives you, you are punching smart, you're being effective, you're being productive, then guess what? People will ask you questions. You know, personal efficiency isn't taught in corporations or in organizations. Why? Because corporations and organizations want their employees and staff to commit to the organization, which means personal efficiency is different from professional or expert proficiency. You can be an expert in your craft or your trade. You might turn up and do particularly well at work. But again, if your own personal life isn't moving forward, then the question is, you know, is it worth it? What do you want? What are your priorities? Are you even getting closer to where you want to be? So the last kind of part, or the last idea I want to share here is purpose. All right. When we're working towards something worthwhile, when we're simply working towards something worthwhile, what would it look like for you to be in control of what you do and when you do it? Mastery. What would it look like for you to become an absolute expert, a master of your craft, where you've developed a skill set that other people will literally flock to you to find value in and pay for? And then purpose. All right? What meaningful, worthwhile thing could you commit the rest of your life to? Because if you want to find some sort of inspiring, compelling reason for getting out of bed every single morning, the key is splicing these three things together, where you're living in an autonomous, mastery and purposeful way. All right? What greater purpose could there be for a goal-setting training course? My response is absolutely none.